Hey, what's going on guys? Nitesh here, back with another video. Now, my pre-sale, purchasing guide video will be coming out soon in a couple of days, so stay tuned for that. But before that, I thought I have to make this video because you people are going to face a dilemma when you are going to purchase some laptops in certain price brackets. Primarily deciding between these two GPUs, the RTX 3070 Ti and the RTX 4060. So why are we even comparing these two GPUs? One is a 60 series GPU from the latest generation and one is a upper higher end 70 Ti class GPU from the last generation. Well, that's because surprisingly some RTX 3070 Ti laptops have come down in price in a big way. Earlier in the year, we saw the HP Omen RTX 3070 Ti selling for 115,000 around. And right now, the Acer Nitro 5 is an absolutely amazing deal for around 95 to 99,000 rupees. So both of these RTX 3070 Ti laptops had come down drastically in price and they provide genuinely good value, especially the Nitro 5 RTX 3070 Ti, which is an amazing value. And coincidentally, some RTX 4060 laptops are also coming down in price greatly. We have the Asus TUF F15 2023, but primarily we have the Lenovo LOQ with the 7840HS or 7640HS Zen 4 processor along with RTX 4060 that can be had for around 100,000 rupees. So RTX 3070 Ti and RTX 4060 laptops are kind of in the same price bracket. So it's completely acceptable that a lot of you guys are now confused which one to opt for. So in this video, we will try to compare the RTX 3070 Ti up against the RTX 4060 and try to decide which is the better GPU for you. But before that guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn notifications. Also, consider joining a Telegram community, link is down in the description. Engage in tech discussions, get reviews from other people who own these laptops, and get alerted on the best tech deals the earliest. With that said guys, let's get right into it. So before we even come down to the laptops which you are probably eyeing to purchase in the sale, because at the end of the day, the actual laptop matters, the actual laptop that you're gonna buy. But before that, let's compare the RTX 3070 Ti and the 4060 in detail. Starting with the first thing, which is obviously gaming performance. So here is a 25 game average comparison between 4060, 3070 Ti and 4070, just in case you also have a 4070 laptop in mind. I've taken these numbers from Jared's Tech. These are compilation of 25 games average in both 1080p and 1440p. So thanks to Jared for providing these numbers. So right off the bat, you can see that the RTX 3070 Ti is a good 13.3% faster than the 4060 at 1440p gaming. This is raw rasterization performance, no ray tracing, and no DLSS upscaling or FSR upscaling. This is a raw performance. In 1440p, the RTX 3070 Ti is a good 13.3% faster than the 4060. However, at 1080p, the RTX 3070 Ti is about 8.4% faster than the 4060, which is actually expected because we all know RTX 30 series was always a little bit weaker at 1080p because of severe CPU bottleneck, caused by the excessive driver overhead. And they were really better at higher resolutions like 1440p and at 4K. So overall, bottom line is the RTX 3070 Ti is a decent 13.3% faster than the RTX 4060 at 1440p, and at 1080p it is also slightly faster. And if you compare that with the RTX 4070, you can see why the RTX 4070 is really not worth the money. It's almost the same between the RTX 4070 and 3070 Ti, right? In terms of raw rasterization performance. I seriously cannot recommend an RTX 4070 laptop, especially with just 8GB of VRAM over 1.4 lakhs. 1.4 lakhs is the absolute maximum that I can recommend an RTX 4070 laptop to you. Over that, I just cannot recommend. Now coming back to 3070 Ti and the 4060, as you saw, right, the 3070 Ti is faster than the 4060 in raw rasterization performance. So just buy the 3070 Ti, right? No need to look at the 4060, right? Well, not so easy. If I move to the next benchmark, which is about performance per watt, here you can see that the RTX 4060 and the 4070 is significantly more power efficient than the RTX 3070 Ti. Guys, you have to remember, the RTX 3000 series was kind of kneecapped because of the below average Samsung's 8nm processing node, whereas the RTX 40 series has received a huge bump in efficiency because now they are being manufactured under TSMC's cutting-edge 4nm node. As a result, RTX 40 series is way more efficient than RTX 30 series. And here you can see that the RTX 4060 is significantly more efficient than the RTX 3070 Ti, which means that if you are from a hotter climate let's say like India or other countries where it is a little bit hot or your weather is hot, in these cases you can have a much better time managing an RTX 4060 or 4070 laptop compared to an RTX 3070 laptop, which really needs around 145 watts plus to maintain its maximum performance, especially at 1440p. Whereas RTX 4060 is pretty much saturated by 100 watts or so. All the 140 watt 4060, that is just a myth. It doesn't exist, all right? It doesn't need more than 100 watts or so to max out. So in terms of power efficiency, the RTX 4060 is just way more efficient than the RTX 3070 Ti, which means on hotter climate, you're going to have a much better experience with an RTX 4060 laptop. It will be cooler. Your fans will not have to run as fast. There will be less chance of throttling. So that is a big advantage in terms of power efficiency. So as we go back and forth between the slides, one thing is about performance, where the RTX 3070 Ti is leading. And in terms of power efficiency, the RTX 4060 is leading. Now, whether you care about power efficiency or not, that is up to you. But there is one more thing in the puzzle, and that is DLSS 3 frame generation. As you all know, guys, NVIDIA has made DLSS 3 frame generation exclusive to RTX 40 series. Now, we know that with DLSS 3 frame generation, there is one caveat, that is the introduction of latency. Remember that, guys, 60 FPS with DLSS 3 frame generation is not at all comparable with 60 FPS without frame generation. That's because with frame generation, there is more latency introduced, because frame generation will hold one real frame and will generate the artificially generated frame, insert it, and then continue with the next frame, right? And your inputs, your mouse input is not accepted at that artificially generated frame. Your mouse input will only work on the real frame that is rendered by your GPU, okay? As a result, this increases latency. However, if you look back at the benchmarks of the RTX 4060, you can see that at 1440p and at 1080p, the RTX 4060 is well beyond 60 FPS, which means DLSS 3 frame generation will not have a negative impact on your gaming experience. Yes, it will increase the latency a little bit, but you're not going to feel it as much when you're playing these high demanding AAA story based games, right? Single player games where the graphical fidelity is a lot more. And in these situations, you're going to have a better experience with frame generation because you're not going to affect your latency as much, because the base frame rate is more than 60 FPS. So in my opinion, DLSS 3 frame generation is a big advantage for the RTX 4060 laptops, and especially that these RTX 4060 laptops are pretty cheap in my opinion. The prices have come down, all right? Now I know what you're going to say, that RTX 3070 Ti can also use frame generation via FSR 3, and we know that, guys, yesterday itself FSR 3 was officially released with Forspoken and Immortals of Avium game, right? However, as per the initial testings that I've seen, especially I've seen Daniel Owen's video, where what I understood is that FSR 3 frame generation, it does not work as well with RTX 30 series as it does with RX 7000 series, alright? That's mainly because what I understand from his video is that NVIDIA's reflex technology doesn't work alongside with FSR 3's frame generation to reduce latency. Because, guys, remember, latency is the biggest enemy of frame generation technologies, and NVIDIA tackles it greatly with NVIDIA Reflex. But what I understand from his video is that RTX 30 series NVIDIA Reflex is unable to work alongside FSR 3 frame generation. As a result, even though you get increase in frame rate, your experience, the input latency is not decreased. Whereas when you enable DLSS 3 frame generation on RTX 40 series GPU, NVIDIA Reflex is coming into the picture, and that reduces latency and gives you a better experience. This thing is not happening with RTX 30 series. Reflex is not working alongside with FSR 3 frame generation. As a result, your latency is just increased. As a result, your gaming experience overall is not really improved. Now let's say to combat that increased latency, you decide that you need more frame rates, base frame rates. For that, what you do? You're going to enable upscaling, right? Now, the problem is, if you are wanting to use FSR 3 frame generation, you cannot use it alongside DLSS upscaling. So let's say you want higher base frame rates, right? So you're going to enable upscaling. In this case, you have to enable FSR upscaling instead of DLSS upscaling. And we all know, guys, this is the truth, especially at 1080p and 1440p, DLSS upscaling is far better than FSR 2.0 upscaling. We have seen it with both of these games, Immortals of AVM and Forspoken. The DLSS upscaling is just significantly better than FSR upscaling because AMD has not improved that upscaling part of FSR 3. It is still, whatever FSR 2.x, whatever it is running. And in terms of quality of upscaling, the DLSS is just way better than FSR in especially these lower resolutions, 1080p and 1440p. So if you want to increase that base frame rate, you will have to rely on FSR instead of DLSS if you are using an RTX 3000 series GPU. And that will just reduce your image quality, guys. That's a big deal breaker in my opinion. Even more than, the latency increase, the image quality degradation because of FSR and not being able to use DLSS with RTX 30 series if you want to use FSR 3's frame generation, that is a deal breaker in my opinion. Whereas with RTX 4060, you can use DLSS upscaling along with frame generation and NVIDIA Reflex, giving you an overall better gaming experience. So bottom line is that in my opinion, guys, I kind of prefer the RTX 4060 over the RTX 3070 Ti, mainly because of these technologies, that is DLSS upscaling, DLSS frame generation, and also the fact that it is significantly more efficient. Now, I'm not saying that 3070 Ti is bad or anything. It is extremely competitive. In terms of raw FPS, if all you care is raw 1440p native quality gaming, then the RTX 3070 Ti is better, guys. Just keep in mind that it is a bit too hot. This GPU requires a lot more power, but you can work on increasing its efficiency by undervolting the GPU a little bit. Alright, so overall in terms of gaming, I don't know what to say. I prefer the RTX 4060, but overall you may say that the RTX 3070 Ti is better or it's a tie. On a side note, guys, I really feel so sad when I look at the RTX 3070 Ti that it only has 8GB of VRAM. If this GPU had at least even 10GB of VRAM, I would have just clearly recommended the RTX 3070 Ti over the 4060. It just cringes me. I just get like, cringe over my body when I see that the RTX 3070 Ti is just so kneecapped with that 8GB of VRAM. But it is what it is. It's NVIDIA monopoly, guys. It is what it is. Okay, next up we move on to some productivity benchmarks because I know a lot of people, even in my Telegram community, were asking about the 3070 Ti because it happens to have much more CUDA core counts, RT core counts compared to the RTX 4060. And so I have a few Blender classroom benchmark for you guys. And here you can see that the RTX 4060, 4070 and 3070 Ti are pretty much on par with each other, guys. In terms of optics API, which is when they use the ray tracing cores, since RTX 4060 has new generation ray tracing cores, even though it has much lesser ray tracing cores compared to the 3070 Ti, it is still able to pull ahead of 3070 Ti in terms of, time taken to render out the scene. Guys, remember, is lower is better. And in terms of CUDA, because RTX 3070 Ti has significant amount, like more amount of CUDA cores, it is actually able to, it's actually faster than the 4060 in terms of CUDA operation. So take it for what it is. In terms of ray tracing cores, 4060 is faster. In terms of CUDA cores, the 3070 Ti is faster by a little bit. And next, I wanted to talk about a little bit about content creation. That is, if you are using these GPUs for content creation. And so the best, software for content creation or best editing software for content creation with GPUs is DaVinci Resolve. And in DaVinci Resolve, as you can see, that the RTX 4060 and the 4070 is slightly better than the 3070 Ti in terms of content creation. Here I have listed out the specifications that this benchmarks were used to conduct on. So this is the Puget Bench benchmark for DaVinci Resolve Studio Edition. And you can see that the 4070 and 4060 is slightly faster than the 3070 Ti. And also remember, guys, both RTX 4060 and 4070 support AV1 encoding, hardware accelerated AV1 encoding, which is pretty important because it's pretty much going to be the future of streaming and encoding because of its massive advantage in terms of compression to quality ratio. So overall, guys, if you compare the two GPUs, 3070 Ti and the 4060, overall, I kind of prefer the 4060, but your opinion may vary. Let me know. Now, coming to the point of the comparison of the laptops, right? We've got two main laptops to compare. That is the Acer Nitro 5 with RTX 3070 Ti and i7-12650H, and we have the Lenovo LOQ with the Ryzen 7 7840HS and the RTX 4060. The Acer Nitro 5 is actually about 5,000 rupees or so cheaper than the Lenovo LOQ 4060. Both of them have 1440p 100% DCI-P3 displays. Both of them have great CPUs, the i7-12650H and the 7840HS. Both have good GPUs, 3070 Ti on the Nitro 5 and 4060 on the Lenovo LOQ. The Nitro 5 even has access to Thunderbolt 4, which is not available with the Lenovo LOQ. The Lenovo LOQ doesn't come with USB 4, so keep that in mind. Thunderbolt 4 has a bunch of advantages. You can connect multiple high-resolution external displays, high-speed external SSDs. You can even connect external GPUs to the Nitro 5 if you want, especially for content creation. External GPUs are not so great for gaming, but still, at least the possibility is there. But if you don't care about the eGPU solution or Thunderbolt 4, if you analyze the two laptops side by side, I must tell you the Lenovo LOQ is actually a much more efficient laptop compared to the Nitro 5. The Lenovo LOQ has a Ryzen 7 7840HS, which is a significantly more efficient CPU than the i7-12650H. As a result, it will also give you longer battery life, much longer battery life compared to the Acer Nitro 5. The Acer Nitro 5 can give you like 3.5 to 4 hours of battery life, in terms of, let's say YouTube video playback. Compare this with the Lenovo LOQ, which will give you around 6.5 hours of YouTube video playback. So overall, the Lenovo LOQ having a much more efficient CPU and GPU will give you a much better gaming experience in hot days or hotter climates, right? Because the CPU is so efficient, you can run it at balanced mode or even silent mode. You can get away with great performance. And even the GPU, the RTX 4060, is significantly more efficient than the RTX 3070 Ti. And you can also use that to game at balanced mode. So overall, the Lenovo LOQ is a much more efficient solution compared to the Nitro 5. In comparison with both of them, you can either pick the Nitro 5 or the Lenovo LOQ, depends on your choice. But if you ask me, I prefer the Lenovo LOQ mainly because of the AMD CPU. So that's it for this video, guys. My recommendation guide, buying guide, will be coming in a couple of days, so stay tuned for that. And I hope you learned something from this video between 3070 Ti and the RTX 4060. Do let me know your thoughts, what you think about it. Which one do you prefer and why? With that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit like, share, and definitely subscribe. Also, consider joining our Telegram group. Link is in the description. Engage in tech discussions, get alerted on the best tech deals the earliest, and also discuss with other people, get reviews from other people who actually own these laptops. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.